Hey, what's going on, my friends? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you 5 signs that your higher self is testing you. It's super ironic and can be confusing because when this happens, it seems, at least in that moment, in your experience, that something has gone wrong. We can lose our connection to our intuition. We can feel like we are becoming more, where we lapse into old patterns and fall into them more easily. And it's like we go through these challenges, but as we all know, nothing's an accident. Everything has a place. And a lot of times, as you get really more advanced in your awakening journey of transformation, then you get these little tests from your higher self. But if you can recognize them as such, which is the whole point of this video, you can rise to the occasion and you can say, okay, buddy, I see what you're doing here. And then you can kind of go into your zone, into your mastery, and really persevere, rather than what a lot of people do. And what I used to do myself is get on the whole, like, let's beat up on Victor. Let's beat up on self. Let's judge ourselves for our poor performance at life. Well, it's kind of like, you know what a tough mudder is? A tough mudder is kind of like a challenging obstacle course / race people do to challenge themselves. You're running in the mud, you're climbing over trees, all sorts of crazy stuff. Well, that's a challenge. But those people know it's challenging. So when they get a little bit messy, a little bit dirty, and start panting and maybe fall or start, feeling like weak, they don't say, well, you suck at life, because they know it's a challenge. They know to sort of dig deep. They know they're in a race. That's the whole point of this video. I want you to know when you're in a race, when you're in the tough mudder, again, imposed upon you by your higher self, because it's a race you're ready for, ready to benefit from and rise to and become awesome in the process of doing it. With this awareness, you will be able to drastically accelerate your forward progress in life and in your awakening when you can recognize you're being tested by the good old higher self. And you can use the term higher self interchangeably with soul, spirit, intuition, whatever. I'm not attached to that name, okay? So what I'm gonna do now is list for you 5 different signs you're being tested. Now, you don't have to qualify, and you likely won't, with all of the signs, but these are the different types of tests I've recognized in my long journey of awakening, and I'm gonna share them with you. And again, I hope this helps you a lot. Number 1, is you're going through something, maybe an old issue, an old pattern, an old habit that you thought you've already dealt with. Something you thought you already had the healing, the epiphany, the insights, the resolution, maybe even in your external life. And you're like, okay, good, that's behind me. And all of a sudden, it's resurfaced again. Maybe brought upon, usually it's a very inner thing, brought upon by an external circumstance. But it's like, why am I going through this again? I'm going to give an example that'll make perfect sense of what I'm saying in a moment, even though a lot of you probably understand. But what you'll notice about when it happens again, when you're being in a sense tested, is it'll be a bit easier to recognize it as a pattern. It'll be a bit easier to have the willpower to not just fall blindly into it like you maybe have in the past. But it's there. It's like, okay, why is this here again? Okay, I'll give an example. Best friend of the whole wide world, Aaron Dowdy, fellow YouTuber, really successful at YouTube. And he went through this few years there, a couple years, where there was this other person, I'm not gonna name names, was copying his content blatantly. He was literally copying Aaron's videos verbatim. Like he'd say, okay, Aaron uploaded a video with this title, with this thumbnail, and he talked about this. And this guy would do the exact same, total, like almost plagiarism sort of thing. And he used to piss off Aaron, and he struggled with it. He didn't like being angry. He didn't like being resentful. He knew it had some kind of purpose in his life, but it was a reoccurring kind of theme in his life, where eventually he had to kind of like, make it where he couldn't even see this other guy's stuff because it was just really, it was getting to him. And he didn't want it to get to him, but it was. It was, again, one of Aaron's sort of patterns, themes, cycles, etc. Well, finally, he resolved it in himself. He came to a complete acceptance that, you know what, this dude's just going to do this. I don't care. Ironically, after that, as things tend to happen in life, the situation itself resolved itself, where he was able to finally talk to this person and sort of have a heart-to-heart and see each other's perspective and come to peace with it. And then I was like, okay. He's like, I'm done. I'm good. And then recently I was talking to him in the sauna. And he was saying, Vic, dude, there's this other guy now doing the exact same thing. But this other guy is not nearly as much of a threat, if you will, to Aaron. He's a much smaller YouTube channel. It's like it's really not, it's like not even worth concerning about. But it's so similar to that last experience. It's like it had that initial feeling of being triggered, but it was like, okay, this is not as big of a deal. I know what to do here. Been through this before. It's a little test from the higher self. Like, did you learn the lesson? I don't need to maybe overwhelm you with another huge example, but let's see how little self, little character, personality construct here in the earth realm deals with this similar circumstance. Let's see if you'd really overcome it. So I've had that many times in my life, and I would imagine a lot of you have as well. Number 2 is you feel cut off from your obvious guidance and synchronicity. Sometimes we are very easily led in the spiritual path, especially where our intuition really expands and our connection to the higher self increases. And sometimes we just have these like impressions, if you will, and just sort of know what to do, know these next big moves to make in our life. And it's very clear. It's like a whole path is cleared out for us. And there's a sign saying, go this way. It's going to be amazing. We say, okay, let's do it. Wow, the synchronicity. You say, yes, 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 yes. There comes a time where the higher self says, you know what, we don't want this person, the seeker, you, to be so reliant on external validation, because after all, the awakening journey leads to the self, the realization that all is within. So there'll be a time, sometimes when you really feel you need it most, where your higher self sort of like takes a vacation, goes out and has a smoke break or something, just chills out and leaves you to like deal on your own. Where's the synchronicity? Where's the guidance? That kind of thing. And it sounds sort of comical, but it's not at the time. In fact, it can be very frustrating and scary. There was one time in my life in particular where I was like very clearly guided to make this huge move in my life, which was to like stop making money, closing down my businesses, my gyms and stuff. It was so clear I did it. But then once I did it, and I said, okay, I followed my intuition, I was given this little test where the higher self went away, no more synchronicity. It's like, and at the time I was terrified. I was like, dude, I just freaking carried out this crazy ass plan of yours because I felt like it was the right thing to do. And where are you? Nowhere to be found. I was pissed off. I would actually literally yell out there into my empty room at my spirit guides and higher self and whatnot. Because I felt like if there's ever a time I needed help, it's now. But most importantly, the reason why that happens and the reason why it happened to me is because we're ready for it. We're ready for it. It's like a lot of things. It's like a lot of times in life when you're ready to move on to the next level, the next grade, the next part of your job, the next stage of your human development from adolescent to adulthood, whatever. We never really are comfortable initially. We don't really feel capable in the very beginning. It's very much like that with this, when being sort of seemingly cut off, when really they're just probably sitting there chilling out laughing at us saying, oh, let's see how they do. It's because it's just new. We were used to a certain degree of training wheels, and now all of a sudden we're like, we're without them. But in this only in this can we realize that, you know what? I don't need those training wheels. And you know what? I have a lot more versatility without them. I feel a lot better. And then not only is it expansive in that sense, but it's also very empowering. So you know what? I don't need those training wheels. I feel very good about myself in this moment. I have more confidence, more courage, more experience, more wisdom. So it's very, very, very valuable and actually a very, very good thing when you're cut off from spirit from time to time. Number 3 is more of my own curiosity. I want to know if this happens to you. I don't know universally if this is something that happens to everybody, but it happens to me. I'd be very curious to hear your thoughts. So sometimes when I'm being, in a sense, tested, I will get more of something I know I should be giving up. I'll give an example, what I mean by that. Recently, I was in Sedona, Arizona with some good friends, and I noticed how healthy they were eating and how good they were feeling. And it made me realize I've been eating way too much of these keto desserts. My wife makes these awesome keto desserts, and I've made the daily habit of eating some every single night. No sugar, not too horrible, but just not that great. And I've been sort of getting my little signs, synchronicities, this intuition that, I should probably chill out on the keto desserts. And I knew that. But I was away in Sedona as I was thinking of all this. Well, when I came home, after a few days being there, and my wife had, I don't know if she was baking all day, but there's 5 different keto desserts. We were gonna have people over the next evening, but I was like, oh my God, honey, I just sort of decided I'm gonna be done with the keto desserts, and here we are with so many of them. And it was just that's an example that's happened to me many, many times, just to kind of show me are you sure you're done kind of thing, as a little test, little temptation. So if that happens to you, I'd be very curious. If you wouldn't mind, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear. Number 4 is that you're being given guidance without the why or how, but clear. For example, if a lot of people who have been watching my YouTube channel know that a big part of my earlier journey was trying to move out of Michigan, where I lived, and move out to San Diego, California. That was a big dream of mine. I talked about it every single video. Oh, I can't wait, that kind of thing. Well, finally, we got to San Diego. It was a dream come true, and we were living it up. We were there about a year, and everything was going fantastic. And then to visit my friend Aaron for the first time, Aaron Dowdy, we paid a quick little trip to Vegas, Las Vegas, where I now live, to visit him. And when my wife and my family got to Las Vegas, it was so bizarre at how strongly we felt guided to move there. After a half a day being in Las Vegas, I had this knowing that I was going to and would benefit from moving here. But why? I wanted to go to San Diego so bad. I finally got there and it was awesome. And why all of a sudden would I be guided to Las Vegas? But it was just saying, go here. And I didn't know at the time why. I didn't really know how. I found out the how recently, pretty quickly. And about a month later, we were living in Las Vegas. And it was just I've come to trust my knowing and my instincts by that point. And I knew there'd be a reason, even if I didn't know it initially. And after there was this one time, a few months after finally having gotten there. And little side note is I love the mountains. I was in Michigan for so long, so I just loved the nature out here, the mountains. I'm like a kid in a candy store. So anyway, 3 months into moving here, I'd still not quite realized why it was so urgent. I moved to Las Vegas. And there, I just found myself with the desire to climb up this particular mountain at this place called Calico Basin in Las Vegas. So I climbed it up, and it was when you climb a mountain, sometimes it looks like you're closer to the top than you are. So I kept getting up on these rocks and looking up and thinking, okay, I'm almost to the top. And I'd get up a little higher, a little higher, a little higher. Well, finally, I made it to the top. And when I got up to the top, it was the most gorgeous. I could see right into the Red Rock Canyon. It was so beautiful. And I was filled with so much joy and gratitude. And as I was up there looking off, I was contemplating all the new friendships I made and just how happy I was, how happy my children are, my wife, my family. And it was in that moment, I knew why I had gotten that intuition so strongly earlier on. But I've come, because I've been on the path a while, I've come to trust that instinct. So sometimes you might have an intuition about doing something, but you don't know why or how. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It means you're ready to literally live that life of faith and walk that path. And as you do so, it's so profoundly empowering when you can have your own experiential proof that you can trust your instinct, you can trust your intuition, because once you have that trust, then there's literally nothing you can't accomplish in life. Lastly, this is a big one. I call it a phony manifestation, where you kind of, in a sense, get what you want, or so you think. This happens a lot with people with their career, where they start really contemplating like the idea that they're not going to be ultimately happy at their career. It's not satisfying. They're getting all these signs sort of indicating that I don't really belong here anymore. It's no longer resonating. It's sort of draining my energy, wearing me down, etc. And this will, of course, lead to the person eventually contemplating, well, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And sometimes right after that person gets this idea, like, oh my God, I'm gonna be a Reiki healer. I feel it. And then what'll happen is very shortly after, the boss will come in and say, hey, guess what? We have a new job position for you right here in the company, and it's gonna offer you a lot more money. And it's like, choices. I've heard that exact story, in fact, played out many times with people. It happened with me in a sense. So towards, within my journey, there was this point where I felt very inspired, and I've talked about this many times before, to quit my job, which at the time, my only job at that time was growing medical marijuana. And I had this whole pretty decked out basement. I grew a lot. I grew pounds and pounds every single month in my basement. But I knew I was meant for something more. I knew this conflicted directly with my other dreams of moving out west to San Diego and being on YouTube and this and that and the other. And I started getting this knowing that I need to stop growing. At that time, I was having all these unusual problems with the grow, like all these different bugs and parasites and problems with electricity, all these really weird, bizarre problems that didn't even make any sense, like super, super rare problems that were just stacking up, combined with my intuition saying, you gotta be done, bro. And finally, inside, in my mind, I was like, yeah, I'm done, I'm done. And then I swear to God, I got a text from my buddy, my old grow partner, of a picture. Just a big picture of my favorite strain, the strawberry cough strain. It was a mother plant, which it's not a big, I'm not gonna go into all these different details. You have to be a grower to know, but it was basically it was very, very tempting. I could have easily outfit my entire grow with this particular awesome strain, which is my favorite. It's good yielding, everything. But it was very, very, very tempting, okay? And that's to really, I think, the higher self like to see how committed are you to where you know you want to go. Will you settle for comfort and more of the same? Or will you have the courage to trust us, trust yourself, and go out there into the unknown and do what you know you are capable of doing? Okay, these are not easy tests, my friend. But if you're having any of them, it's a sign that you are very far along in your transformation process. If you're having these signs straight up, you're destined to be one of the spiritual leaders in the world in the coming years. Not necessarily in some sort of formal sense, but these are very, very high level tests of the spirit. Okay, not everyone is going. Most people aren't even waking up at all. And you're waking up and going through these crazy ass, very tests that at the time make you feel like you're doing a piss poor job at this whole awakening, at the whole spiritual path. You're regressing, you're falling back in old patterns, you're indecisive, you're no longer getting all the obvious signs, all these different things are happening. But what it really means is that in these moments that aren't always fun, you're cultivating discernment, wisdom, courage, faith. You're truly knowing what it means to walk and live your life, live a life of faith. You're going to experience that. And these qualities that you're cultivating in these crucial times, amidst these tests, are going to help you in so many profound ways in life I can't even begin to express. Anyway, I've been battling with this battery. I've had to reshoot this, come back to this video many, many times. It's about to die again. I said my piece. I hope you enjoy this video, my friends. If you like videos like this, go ahead and subscribe down below. I do videos about the awakening. I'll talk about empaths, spiritual awakening, ascension, all that good stuff, light workers. If you're interested, I'm here. If not, that's fine too. I wish you well on your path. Have an amazing day, my friend. Much love to you. Namaste.